To bring down costs is the thought dominating every industry in Britain today. To expand our markets overseas and to raise our standard of living, we must produce more and sell it more cheaply. And that means cutting costs. Hidden in the price of every article, often ignored because it seems so obvious, is the simple cost of moving things. For moving things costs money, big money. Every time anything is lifted, shifted, stacked or stored, that movement is materials handling. It may account for anything between 15 and 85% of the cost of an article. Materials handling covers the movement of everything. It includes the receipt of raw materials and packaging materials in the factory, their movement forward to processing, movement during processing, the removal of the finished goods and their dispatch and delivery to the consumer. With materials handling accounting for between 15 and 85% of the cost of many articles, this is clearly a field where great savings can be made. In their movement from the production line to the consumer, goods are handled by many different methods, some mechanical, some manual. Both can be efficient if properly fitted into a planned production flow. Yet still, in the movement of many things, at some stage there is waste. Wasted space, because there is a limit to the height a man can lift. Wasted effort, because there is a limit to the weight a man can lift. Wasted time, because things are handled one by one. How is this waste of space, time and effort to be avoided? This film is concerned with one answer, the system based on the pallet. The pallet is a simple platform onto which goods can be placed. It makes possible the unit load. And the more pieces, pounds or cubic feet of material we can combine and move as a unit without further manhandling, the lower handling costs will be. To move the unit load, we have the forklift truck, and the pallet is made with entries to take the forks. Here is a machine which can replace the human being, lifting and shifting much greater loads and stacking them to a much greater height. When loaded, the truck should balance along the center line of the front axle. The mast is tilted back so that the load rides more safely. This pallet has a full perimeter base. This spreads the weight of the load over the surface of the stack, so avoiding damage to the goods beneath. The height of the stack is limited by 4 factors: the weight the floor will take, the height of the ceiling, the height to which the equipment will reach, and the stability of the load. Forks are made in various lengths, and extensions can be fitted. The important thing is that the forks should not protrude when fully inserted, since they might then damage other goods. These are 4-way entry pallets, which means the forks of the trucks can enter from either side or either end. Fork trucks are primarily lifting and stacking machines. They can be used for short runs, but for longer runs, pallet trucks, powered or pulled by hand, can take their place. These less costly trucks are made to carry the pallet horizontally, but not to stack it. The two machines make an economic team where the volume of work justifies their cost. That's the theory. Now let us see how this system can save space, save time, and reduce working fatigue when applied to handling problems in industry. Production processes have become steadily more efficient because considerable attention has always been paid to reducing manufacturing costs. Savings of even a few % are thought worth making. But in the handling of goods, during and after production, big possible savings are often overlooked. Until quite recently, you would find this sort of thing in many otherwise efficient works. Pushing the trolley to the store was a slow, steady job. And in the store, the components had to be unloaded by hand, one by one. Tedious work and a very slow business. What's more, they could be stacked no higher than the operator could reach, wasting half the storage space. Far more was wasted in handling costs than could ever be saved by cutting a few % off production costs. Sometimes production actually had to be stopped because the floor could not be cleared quickly enough. Let us see the basic technique of the unit load and forklift truck applied to the identical process. A fork truck takes unit loads to the store and easily keeps pace with output. In the store, unit loads can be stacked 4 high, increasing the space used by 60%. Unloading the trolley by hand used to take 16 minutes monotonous handling. A forklift truck stacks a unit load in 30 seconds, and the same saving is made again when the pressings are taken out for assembly. What had been slow, laborious, and wasteful is now quick, easy, and efficient. That is the basic technique. Its value to industry is apparent when we see how easily it is adapted to a whole host of different handling problems. Let us look first at some of the varieties of pallets. A problem facing many industries is how to stack crushable goods. One answer is the post pallet. This is a base pallet with pillars fixed at each corner to take the weight of the load above. Another problem often arises from the shape of goods. Castings like these cannot be stacked on base pallets, they would only fall in untidy heaps, but they can be made into unit loads in box pallets. Better use can then be made of the height of the store. Another type of load, this unit load of paint tins, is kept rigid during transit on a base pallet fitted with a load clamp cover. Unit loads on base pallets are normally stacked one on top of the other. In ICI Paints division, there is a different system. Pallet racks support the weight, and individual pallet loads of drums can be withdrawn or inserted without disturbing the rest. Sometimes pallets of unusual dimensions will solve a particular problem. These wide base pallets carry telephone directories. Designed to fit the GPO store's vans, they rest on roller conveyors which are permanent fixtures. The first unit load is pushed in by the second, and so on. It used to take 10 men an hour and a half's hard work to load the van by hand. Now it takes 2 men 15 minutes. A saving of over 95% in time, and a saving in fatigue. But even the pallet is not always necessary. Many types of unit load can be carried directly on the forks of the truck. These crates, for example, have battens which allow the forks to enter. At a Shell refinery, these long forks enable drums of oil to be carried 3 at a time. Girl drivers soon become adept at rolling the barrels off 1 at a time. We begin to see the variety of uses for this flexible handling machine. Forklift trucks are made in many sizes from 10 hundredweight to 10 tons capacity. Even this little fellow can lift nearly 10 hundredweight. There are many handling problems, though, which cannot be solved with ordinary forks. In this ICI paper store, for example, reels weighing over a ton had to be pushed and shoved into place by hand. It was quite impossible for the men to lift them, so the reels had to stand on the floor, wasting space. To deal with different types of load, a whole range of attachments can be fitted to the truck in place of the forks. With a boom attachment, handling the reels becomes easy. It used to take 3 men an hour to manhandle 8 reels into store. Now, 1 man does it in 15 minutes, a saving of over 90%. And, since the reels can now be stacked, the capacity of the warehouse is doubled. Attachments like these make the forklift truck extremely versatile. A small crane can be fitted to the pedestrian model, or a large crane to the rider model. Drums can be lifted in unit loads of 2 or 4 with these squeeze clamps. An alternative to lifting them on a pallet. The same attachment can be adapted to lift bales or packing cases. With a towing link on the truck, it can be used as a tractor. Here, handling sacks of calf meal, it pulls a number of unit loads on trailers instead of carrying only one. The truck can be used economically for hauls up to 75 yards. For heavy lifting, in a foundry for example, a 5 or 10-ton truck can be fitted with a manipulator head. A rotating head attachment enables the truck to turn suitable pallets through a complete circle. This shovel attachment handles loose materials in bulk, obviating the need for manual shoveling of unpleasant or injurious materials. The shovel can tip its load at any height up to the limit of the mast. With these tools, the forklift truck can save time, save space, and save monotonous and unsatisfying effort wherever there is lifting and shifting to be done. It may be with some ancillary attachment, or it may be with some variety of pallet. It may be with the ordinary base pallet, here used with sling bars to replace the old boat board. The aim will always be the same, to carry the unit load unbroken as far as possible from the production line to its final destination. It may be carried by fork truck or by trailer, by pallet truck or by crane, or as here, by overhead monorail for loading into barges. Each handling problem may call for a different technique, but whatever method we use, the more pieces, pounds, or cubic feet we combine and move in one unit, the lower handling costs will be. Moving individual sacks, packages, or components by hand is adding to costs at every stage of production and distribution, and repeated handling is bound to damage goods. The unit load and the forklift truck save space, save time, and eliminate effort, so reducing handling costs. Savings can be made over the whole chain of distribution. The principle of the unit load can be applied at every stage, from the receipt of raw materials at the factory right through to the delivery of the finished product to its final destination. Let us follow an actual unit load along the chain and see how the system works. The unit load should be made up as early as possible. Here, sacks of chemicals are arriving at the raw material store at Port Sunlight. If these materials had been delivered already on pallets, a great deal of time and laborious effort could have been saved. Repeated handling is also likely to tear the sacks. Once the sacks are on a pallet, the forklift truck takes over. In contrast to the sacks, some fiberboard packing cases come to the factory already strapped in unit loads. Time is saved, and they can be moved to store without manual handling. More and more suppliers are considering it worthwhile to deliver in unit loads. The unit load is not just any quantity of goods dumped anyhow onto a pallet. Pallet loading diagrams are designed for each type of package. At the end of the production line, unit loads are made up according to these diagrams, bonded wherever possible so that the load will be stable in transit. The bonding pattern will vary with the shape of the packages. Wherever possible, they should fit like bricks in a wall. Ideally, this unit load should remain unbroken from the factory production department through factory storage to the wholesale warehouse and in some cases right to the final destination. Here in the factory store with these goods, the full height of the building can be used. The stockman has copies of the pallet loading diagrams. He can now check merely by unit loads instead of by individual packages. Stock taking is greatly simplified and considerable time is saved. When the goods are called forward, the fork truck unstacks the unit load, leaving the pallet truck to carry the load off to the dispatch bay. With the use of a bridge plate, the unit load can be run right onto the trunk vehicle. If the load is to be double-tiered, the fork truck will be used. Loading for dispatch from the factory becomes a matter of minutes, a great saving in the turnaround time of every lorry. Recognizing the advantage of unit load transport, British Railways operates specially designed pallet vans. Each van carries 8 40 by 48 inch pallets or 10 40 by 40 inch pallets. The floor is strengthened to take the weight of the pallet truck. Doors are 8'6" wide and have been put at the end of the van for easier loading by either forklift or pallet truck. If unit loads were left loose, packages might be dislodged during the journey. So, into the gap between them are placed plywood boards and straw pads. These are forced in to hold the loads firm. Shunting shocks have to be allowed for too. Lateral boards prevent the loads moving fore and aft. Here, as at every other stage, handling goods in unit loads reduces the danger of damage. Loading the van has taken 2 men a quarter of an hour, compared with half an hour loading by hand, a saving of 50%. To encourage the adoption of the unit load system, British Railways give a free weight allowance for pallets of specified size, returning the empty pallets without any charge. By rail and by road, unit loads are transported unbroken from factory to warehouse. So important is this development that SPD, Unilever's warehousing and distributing company, has built warehouses designed by architects for the operation of the unit load system. A warehouse of this type has no internal pillars or stanchions. The internal dimensions are multiples of pallet widths, and 11-foot aisles allow for fork truck maneuvering. There is a clear 17 feet of headroom. Storage areas are marked so that tiers can be accurately placed. The wagon, loaded at the factory in a quarter of an hour, will be unloaded here at the warehouse in the same time. Turnaround time is reduced to half what it was before. Now we see the advantage of careful stowing. Not a single box has been damaged in spite of shunting and high-speed rail travel. By road, too, the unit loads arrive in good shape. The forklift truck unloads from ground level. It moves as far as the loading bay, where a pallet truck takes over, carrying the load to the stack in the warehouse. Four-way pallets are used, so the exchange of load is quick and needs no maneuvering. The corners of stacks are protected with metal guards against accidental damage. 4 inches between stacks provides enough room to get the load in easily and helps ventilation. To save time in maneuvering, a side shift mechanism allows the forks to be moved 4 inches to left or right for accurate placing of the pallet. Here again, the stocktaker has a copy of the pallet loading diagrams. He thus knows the contents of every unit load. Code rotation is easily maintained. All pallet loads are accessible and can be removed in the correct order to the assembly area where the day's deliveries are taken for dispatch. Where customers take their deliveries in bulk, the unit load goes on from the warehouse still unbroken. Once again, the turnaround time of the lorry is reduced at both ends of the journey. But even wholesalers may want no more than half a pallet load, and retailers even less. So in most cases, delivery vans still have to be loaded by hand. Made up at the factory in Cheshire, the unit load is broken down and manhandled for the first time at a warehouse in Kent. Indeed, the day may not be far distant when every wagon and every lorry, even every ship and every plane, will have its storage designed for the pallet and the forklift truck. Throughout a growing range of industries, the unit load system is being adapted to solve a steadily widening variety of handling problems. Turnaround time reduced by half on every wagon. Loading time reduced by 95%. Storage capacity doubled, and 1 hour's skilled work instead of 10 hours heaving and shoving. Utilization of storage space increased by 60%, and half an hour's monotonous handling changed to 1 minute's skilled work. In our efforts to create better working conditions and bring down costs, the unit load system is playing an increasing part. For space, time, and effort wasted is money wasted, and waste is a luxury none of us can afford.